On this episode of Beginner to Winner, we are going to take you through a lot of the processes, basically the sandwich that is training a high-powered barrel horse. It starts with the foundation. We're going to head back to Cole Price's facility where we have a couple of horses in training with Price Performance horses. To start, you guys always see the process in bits and pieces, but as we do Beginner to Winner, we are in various stages of this process with lots of horses, a dozen. So you guys are going to see the flushing process of the embryo, the halter breaking of the weanlings, how we choose the weanlings when the weanlings hit the ground, to getting them started when they're ready and get the foundation on them, and then moving to getting a start around the barrels, and finally to competition. It's a lot and it's overwhelming because I have to think about each of these people that are in this horse's life and select them with the utmost of scrutiny in order to give that horse that I've thought so long about the proper chance to succeed. We are going to start with going from embryo to hitting the ground in this episode. I am beyond excited about the introduction of Flow Heaven's Sake to you. It's time for us to go outside and see the very first baby of the season. I have a lot of unpopular opinions about foaling my horses out. I want them foaled out outside. I don't want a lot of intervention. This is my 10th foal crop, so 10 years of doing this. And I think I've had one issue with a horse I didn't own that kind of wasn't on this schedule. Anyway, let's go outside and check out this baby. Then we'll come back in the warm and we'll talk about it. Oh, what a cute baby. Boy or girl, boy or girl. I want a gender reveal. I mean, that baby was just born. I mean, we caught this thing within minutes of being born.
Isn't it crazy? They stand up and they're already figuring it out.
I know.
Like,
it's.
I just gotta find where I eat from.
She's probably been alive for, I don't know, 15 minutes. 30 minutes, maybe. Mama's gonna help her here in a second. There we go. If Mama could get some relief from those mares, she'd be good. Close, we're close, we're close, Co. I can see her really good from right here. We're close. Mama's nudging her. Look at nature, look at nature. Look at nature. Look at nature doing its thing. Oh.
Yeah, tell her to get up.
Yeah. Come on, Mama, push her back. Push her back there. Show her where to get the milk. Come on. There we go, baby. Good job, baby. Good job. Is she sucking? Can you see?
Not quite yet.
Okay.
She's not far enough. Okay, she went too far.
Okay. Mama's helping.
Yep.
Say, come back.
Come back, turn around.
Mark, pretty baby.
Mark.
Yeah.
Sweet little baby.
5, 6, honey.
What a pretty baby. There we go. So many of you might be new here. You might be coming from TikTok. You might be, I don't know, not have followed me for a long time, but my baby is going to be 2 next month. And he was foaled out in the house with a midwife and a doula. He was 8.8 pounds and he was breech. And I had him in the house. And so I fully believe this to my core. This is not just for the horses. I believe this for all mamas. That I think we need less intervention in most cases. Of course, there's exceptions to every rule, but in most cases, I think we need a lot less intervention, and I think Mama is a superhuman or a super horse in this case. So I want my horses to have the opportunity to have them without a lot of people around. Even us filming, I think, was a little bit invasive. I wanted, us to be really quiet. We kept the baby really quiet. We wanted to be really far back, and Cody used a really long lens. I don't like to put my hands on them. I have 1,000 different reasons why I don't like to imprint them right off the bat. I like my horses to be feely and competitive, and these horses later on in their life, this is a JL Dash to Heaven and Baby Flow. This thing is going to have this thing's going to be in a stall getting poultice and blankets and magnets and adjustments and acuscopes and equiscopes and all the things that we do, right? So for this portion of its life, I want it to be a horse, and I want it to learn horse lessons, and I want it to do things in the herd. I want it to learn its manners from the mares. I want it to learn to be, in a group of horses, because later on I may want to turn it out in the pasture to relax. If I just keep it contained, and again, this is my opinion, and I respect everyone's opinion. A lot of people like to foal out at foaling facilities, which is how, this is what my baby has handed us since talking here to keep him quiet, just so you know what it's like to vlog.
Also, just being a mommy, like suddenly I'm holding 1,000.
Suddenly I'm holding 75 things. Both Lolo and Flobot were born in a really beautiful foaling facility with 24-hour care, and they had all of the things right off the bat and all the stuff you could do, and I almost killed Flobot from too much intervention. So I feel like that was part of what has shaped my decision to foal out like this. So anyway, it was my intervention and doing too much and coddling and helicopter momming over these foals that I feel like some things could have been prevented. So now I like the mare to do what the mare knows to do best. These are recent mares, by the way, so they are having babies yearly all of the time. And have raised a lot of really great colts without me putting my 2 cents in. So that's my tea on that. I don't halter break them until they're weaned and they're on down the road. I do not haul these babies around until they're broke to ride. I just think it's a lot for them, and they're going to have a life of dealing with me and all my antics. So for this time, let them be foals, let them learn all the things. I feel like they can run around, they can stretch, they can develop muscle, there was even a breeding farm, and we're too flat in Texas for this, but there was a breeding farm that I really looked up to and still do. They just don't do as much breeding, but they would put their water troughs and hay mangers on a hill. The horses would walk up and down the hill every day to just create really strong foals that had to travel a long way to get their hay and feed. So it was more like it used to be back in the day, instead of when we just kind of created a bunch of toy poodles, which again, I respect everybody that does this in a heated barn with 24-hour monitoring with a thing on their mare to tell them when they go down. I respect it, 100% respect it, but I also respect my program of 10 years of having a whole lot of success, reserve world champions. We produced, if you want to know how Baby Flo was born, she was born just like this. In Poppy's pasture, we woke up and said that mare had her baby, time to go out and meet her. We didn't put hands on her, we waited till later. Just a really, really cool experience. It's worked out for us. We've won over $1 million on horses born like this, BFA Reserve World Champs, et cetera, rodeo winners, rodeo placers, all of them have made. I do think that my foals, my finished horses, do have a few more like bumps and nicks on them than other horses. Like you'll see little, like there's hair missing here like permanently, or there's whatever, because they have been out in the world longer than other horses maybe that are kept up in a different way. That's the way we do it. I know a lot of people can't do that because of where they live. Our winter temperatures, even when it's really cold to us, is a very mild temperature. It's, freezing today, but it'll be in the 40s. So I think for our winter, it's really easy for us to have January babies. We've never had a January baby also. So typically all of ours are born in April because I'm a slacker. And that's how rodeos go, is I want to run my mares at some rodeos and not get them checked in February. So I typically wait until a little bit later in the season. She is a JL Dash to Heaven Baby Flo. And the thought process behind this cross started in a phone call to a data analyst that I know very well, who started Equisource, who started a breeding data online system for you to see statistically what would be the very best cross for your mare. Now, science tells us a little bit, and freaks are still freaks. You can still buy a $300 horse out of the kill pen and go win a world title. That still happens today. But in this, which is essentially gambling, I do want to give myself the best statistical advantage that I can possibly have. That means nothing about it being easy. That means nothing about being guaranteed. It just means I have a little bit of a leg up knowing the statistical advantage that I have when this baby hits the ground. I always prefer fillies, and this is a very, very special filly for us. She is a half sibling to a lot of horses that are winning right now and that are crossed on Dr. Nick Barmer's, and I am beyond excited. What I hate is that I basically have to stare at her for 2 years until we can get started. And staring at her includes making sure that she stays in one piece for the next 2 years until she is ready to head to Price Performance Horses. That takes us to our next chapter of several horses that we have at Price Performance Horses. But in this episode, we'll be highlighting Shaggin' Wagon, best name ever, and Flo's Fuego. She's a full sister to Smoke Show that you guys have seen in our program, but we are doing a different start on this mare. Now, she doesn't resemble Smoke Show at all, but she is a Knick-Knack Caliente Firewater Ruby Buckle Incentive filly that we are very excited about. She's big, she's yellow, she has a monster stride, so she is night and day from what Smoke Show was, and we are just going to treat her a little bit differently, getting her really, really broke. Smoke Show had an incredible start by a really good trainer, but she just felt like she kind of came out of the womb, broke to ride, not to discredit the trainer, but she just was very pliable and teachable and coachable. When a horse has a lot more size and a lot more forward motion, you have to think that that horse is going to be a horse that'll be a little bit trickier to get really soft and pliable and broke, because they want to go forward and they want to go fast. So they have a lot of body that they need to learn how to use, and they can kind of have that baby Huey syndrome where they don't really know where their feet and brain are connected. It takes a lot of time to get that together. So we're going to take extra time on this filly to make sure that she knows where everything's at, because with her size, with her conformation, this is probably my pick right now for my front runner out of this pile of babies to be something really, really special. So historically, this mare that the yellow mare is out of, typically those are a little bit tricky, but they're always winners. So I'm excited to see you kind of walk us through where she's at right now. They've been here how long? 60, 75 days maybe?
I was almost going to say really at the end of 2 months.
Right. Just barely.
Yeah.
Just barely.
Yeah. Given time we missed while we're at the fraternity.
Yeah.
So let's just, I think we should say end of 2 months.
Sweet.
That gives us a timeline.
I feel like, one, they're way further along than I expected, and two, just kind of seeing you guys peel back the layers of the onion of this horse being something that's a little bit tricky.
Yep.
It's cool.
So the Palomino mare that Luke is on, I don't know if you guys really remember seeing a lot of her last video, but she was kind of always just a little fractious.
Yep.
Which is fine. We just kind of stayed in kindergarten for a little longer. And I'm a very big believer in that. Like, to me, you gotta push them enough that they're going forward with their education, because sometimes
they get bored.
Well, they'll get stuck there so long that it's like, okay, well, we're never getting past it.
I think that's the big deal too in barrel racer land, is people think if they do this certain amount of slow work over and over and over again, that they will make their horses better, and most of the time they make them really dull.
I agree.
And where they can't win anymore,
I agree.
You've got to continue the education by just sometimes trying a different way too, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So sometimes, like this mare was just busy and worried about everything. She was real worried about your legs. Like, the lateral flexion part took a long time, and we really got it probably about 75% in the hackamore. And so we just put these horses in the snaffle about 2 weeks ago. To me, in a snaffle, you can dig in there a little deeper.
Right.
But what's really interesting, it took us probably 3 days of just reviewing what we had done in a hackamore, and those horses were pretty soft, which is why I like to do it. Instead of teaching this horse that you're just going to hang all over its face, it kind of related the pull and the pressure with, oh yeah, we've done this exercise before. So we didn't lose any ground when we went back in the snaffle.
I think that's super important because I think people then make a transition to like a new venue, a new place that they ride, a new whatever, and immediately start trying to move forward when really if you just kind of take a second and go, hey, let's review. This is something new, so we threw this monkey wrench in there. Let's make sure we go through it and check out that you know everything and don't lose your head over
sure. And that's really what
new.
we've been doing basically. Like when I go on a snaffle bit, and especially at this stage, we're still trying to get control of this horse,
right?
Of the body parts. So, I mean, for the first 3 days, it was really a review, and now we're starting to dig in there a little deeper and go ahead and get it. But this mare was really, really fractious. This was probably one of my favorites.
Yeah.
One of them, but she probably wasn't the most entertaining to ride every day. But to me, she is a proof. If you get her out of her stall every day, at least 5 days a week, these horses are ridden 5 days a week, and on the 6th day they get on the walker or turned out, but your horse has to have the consistency.
Especially when they're busy-minded.
For sure.
Because they'll think up a new way to kill you.
Absolutely, and I am very big on consistency, 5 days a week. I mean, you might not think you're getting anywhere, and all of a sudden a month goes by, and you go, holy cow, look how much I gained. You know, everybody says we want to get 1% better.
Right.
On a horse like this, sometimes having the same ride is okay.
Yeah.
And 0.5% is a lot better than going
regression.
backwards. So, you know, sometimes we get a little greedy and dig in them too quick, but in the same aspect, you got to kind of keep saying, hey, you need to get better. You need to get better.
Because one like this, you could blow her up really easy. If I went to the barrel pattern right now, knowing that at the lope she's not as solid as she needs to be, right here I could blow up a really good mare.
For sure, for sure. And I do think this will be a really nice mare.
Yep.
She might take a little longer, but you know, Rome wasn't built in a day. And I think those ones that last a long time, you know, take a lot of time.
We're on like year 7 of pro rodeo, or year 6 on her half brother, and her full sister is winning and really, really solid and incredible. So this mare has not, this Baby Flo's full sister is the mama, and she has never not produced.
Yep.
So she's got big shoes to fill, but she is bigger, stronger, faster looking to me than a lot of them, and I'm excited. But with that, you pay a price.
For sure.
You know.
And she is pretty good minded. She's just a little timid and gets worried.
Right.
But to me that is why it's important to put pressure on her early on.
Right.
A lot of people wait too long, and then all of a sudden when you put it on them, they can't handle it.
That's how you raise a snowflake.
For sure.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a big believer in teaching her to accept pressure early on. You've got to put a little bit more pressure on them each day,
right,
as they get better.
But then we move to Shaggin' Wagon. Now, this horse has been in training for the exact same amount of time as Flo's Fuego, and this horse is starting to show incredible promise. Shaggin' Wagon is out of a mare called Hand Me a Million and is made to run. But this horse is just an example. We've shown a lot of footage behind the scenes of T-Wagon and how kind he is and how sweet he is. Kids riding him and going around the barrels really slow and being roped on and running on the racetrack and breaking arena records and winning over 30,000. All of those things, but we haven't been able to show what his colts are and is he passing that on to his progeny. And today I can without a doubt say yes he is, because the report back on Shaggin' Wagon is this is a really, really nice horse that's really, really trainable, and he's so sensible. And that is a really cool quality to have, because this horse, we already know he's bred to run. He's race bred top and bottom, and is going to be absolutely phenomenal. I'm not going to lie, I love his color, so I'm leaning toward him a lot because he's black and he's going to be big and stout and muscular, and he's going to look the part. Right now he's in that gawky 2-year-old stage where they just look kind of gangly, and he's still a very pretty horse, but he's still kind of coming into his own. We're going to see him put on a whole lot of muscle, which we see from the last episode to this episode, but he's going to get even bigger, start to fill out, and we're going to see a lot of growth from him. But what we're seeing right now is all of this trainability, and they haven't run into one hiccup or one place where they've had to back down on him, which for me tells me a whole lot about his future. He's taking everything in stride, and as they pressure him, they're not having to back off quite so much. On the filly, they're having to add pressure and take it away, add pressure and take it away. And that's really common among a horse that has a whole lot of forward motion. You kind of see where the edge is, and then you back down and try to get them really soft, because you can go redline them way too much and then you won't have a horse left to train, because they constantly want to just like go to anxiety and pressure, just like humans. It's very much the same. So all of these horses making the progress that we want them to make at Price Performance Horses, if I could go back and tell myself anything earlier, it is get to Coles as quickly as possible, because everything that he has been riding makes me really, really excited. I have a hidden 3-year-old racehorse that I bought from the same breeders as I bought Flashy Doe. She's been hidden. She's gray, she's stunning, and I will introduce her in the very next episode. So at this point, I want to say make sure you're subscribed, because this series is absolutely everything, especially a decade from now. Who knows what kind of footage we're going to pull from this process right now to be able to say we knew them back when. It's time to see how our 3-year-olds are progressing. This week's highlight is going to be on a very special horse. I have to tell you that I feel like I have a soul tie with this horse, because back in the day, for those of you guys that watched the Nick Swachuca, which his barn name was Chuck Taylor, when you watched his story, I felt like I lost that horse way too soon. And for those of you that followed his story, he was a remarkable horse that had so much talent and ability, a full brother to Baby Flo, which just tells you what he could have been. He was a pro rodeo winner, arena record holder, and one of the most phenomenal animals I've ever had the pleasure of riding in my entire career. And he had a career-ending injury and ended up passing way too soon. He would be 22 this year. Which is just really crazy to think about. But Chuck did leave us with some really amazing colts, like Chuckarita, like Chuck Norris. There's tons of other ones that he left behind, not to mention pro rodeo winner, arena record holder, California extraordinaire Roman, Nick's star player, which is very special to us, is sired by Nick Swachuca. And there was something really cool about that horse. But now, 8 full crops later, out of Baby Flo, we finally have a stallion that we are going to let remain a stallion. He's one of 2 stallions that we are going to let remain a stallion. I would like to introduce you to Feel the Flow. Now, I sent Feel the Flow to Andre Coelho. He got started by Clayton Anderson, a cow horse guy in Oklahoma, who I have the utmost respect for. Clayton started a ton of our horses, including Florari. He puts an excellent handle on horses and does a phenomenal job. He started Feel the Flow. Oh man, he looks good. Man, that's perfect. And we are so pumped to have moved that horse to Andre Coelho. It took a lot of inner reflection for me to be able to understand that I'm going to have to place these horses with different trainers, because I'm a mom, I'm a business owner, and I have rodeo goals. And as long as I want to be on the rodeo road, I'm going to neglect one part of this process. I'm the breeding manager, I'm the CEO of some companies, I'm the mom of brand, and I am the trainer at Dynasty Equine. Having all of those irons in the fire, painting myself really thin, I have to go inward and say, can I really do my best in every single one of these areas? And the short answer is absolutely not. I have a lot of help, both in the businesses. Alex is a phenomenal dad. All of my friends are the village that helped me to raise brand. And obviously my friends helped me run and maintain Dynasty Equine. So it was time for me to reach out and place this horse in a place that would make him have the absolute best start. I've learned through my many ventures into futurities that I'm not the number one pick. I wouldn't be my number one pick to go futurity and campaign a horse right now with my schedule. So I wanted to pick someone that was in my top 5 to go campaign and futurity a horse. And Andre Coelho, I've been a fan of his since the early 2000s. I took a lesson with him in 2012 when he was in Colorado. Now he has moved to Texas and is only an hour away from the ranch, and he had openings for outside horses. I said, would you be open to taking a stallion, not just any stallion, but a baby flow stallion? And he jumped all over it. Here is a little bit of his training session from Mega Ranch where I got to see him. I have yet to throw my leg over Mac, which is his barn name, and I'll tell you why in a little while, but I have yet to throw my leg over. I want Andre to have full reign over what he does and how he tunes. I don't want to give any feedback. I want to see him do his thing like he would for any other client, because he's had a lot of success without me intervening, and I am so excited about their journey. Our plan is to campaign this horse all over the place. Everywhere that he feels that he has the ability to go, we will enter. We will hold him back to be a 5-year-old futurity horse if we feel like it. We'll futurity as a 5-year-old if he feels like it. It's all up to his trainer, but I'm excited to share his journey with you. Now, why is his barn named Mac? Well, his brother, Thomas, is an epic leader, baby flow stallion, and we love them as a pair of horses that we're going to be campaigning all over the country. So if you are a barrel racer for any amount of time, you know what the Thomas and Mac means to us, and we feel like we have built something in our pedigree and in our program to help everybody pursue their biggest goals, especially when you think about the Thomas and Mac. Everyone has wondered, where is Boss Man? How's he doing with EPM? All of the things from Journey to the Juvenile. And I would like to let you know, I moved that horse to Andre Coelho's program as well. And I get chills just thinking about it. Everything that we did for his EPM treatment worked successfully, and I turned him out. You guys know I said it in Journey to the Juvenile, and I said I want to get him a big break until we can figure out exactly what it is that we want to do. And when Andre moved back, he was the second horse I thought of to put in his program behind Mac. I wanted him to have a fighting chance to be able to go to some futurities. I held him back even though we thought maybe we could make it to his EPM diagnosis, recovery, and to the juvenile. I just didn't want to burn his 4-year-old year. Remember, the minute you enter them, their futurity year starts. So if I'd entered him at 3 in November, this would be his futurity year when he would need to be seasoned. But instead, I thought, let's hold him back and give him a chance to really make a splash his futurity year. And Boss Man is doing phenomenally. Here's a little session from him at Mega Ranch where he is doing just so good. I'm not going to jinx it. The people that know what you're watching, just know what you're watching. I see it, you see it. This is a really special horse, and I cannot wait to follow his entire journey through the futurity year and take you along with me. Okay, so I decided to take Boss Man to Andre Coelho. I have 46 head of horses, and it's foaling season and breeding season, and I got him well after you guys saw him go through his EPM stuff, and we felt like Alex and I think it was an ego thing of like, I think I can ride all of these horses and get it done in my spare time. And as I have like next year's juvenile colt, and last year's still Flashy Doe is by no means finished. She's 4 years old, so I just started to think, man, a lot of these really nice horses are going to slip through the cracks. And I'm so glad that I have been able to let go of the parts of me that want to control every step or want to be perfect or think that no one can do it like me. And not in a I'm the best barrel racer alive way, but like, oh, I've raised all these horses and I've ridden these horses for 20 years. You know, I'm the person that can do it best. I know them best. A really big part of me to grow and learn has learned to let go of this. There's a season for everything, and I think when Sissy Wynn came here and she told me like she likes to buy her horses when they're 5 or 6 and have had a really good experience on the futurity trail, and not necessarily that they've won every futurity, but just that they've had the exposure. That changed my mind. She was here to sign her contract with Ranch Dressin, and I feel like every person is led to us in every season for a reason. And she just spoke to me about the fact that she doesn't have enough time, and that cutting out the part of letting them get that exposure really makes rodeo fun for her. It doesn't make it so that it's really taxing on her, because rodeo's already hard. The goals are already hard. The 2 years it takes to get winning on the pro rodeo trail are enough. So for her to not give up, she gets them already gone through that 5 and 6 year old phase. And that's what led me to try to seek out some people that could help me on this journey. I think that I have preached about being resourceful for such a long time and kind of neglected my own advice. So using my resources, I've been an Andre fan for so long. I went to take a lesson from him in 2012 in Colorado, and he made a Facebook post a couple of weeks after Sissy was here and said, I'm moving to Texas, ironically about an hour away from Mega Ranch, and I'm ready to take some colts. And I immediately texted him and said, how many do you want to take? So I sent him to Boss Man, was at the top of my mind to send to him, because he's well, he's ready to go, and I can have a Sissy approach. And while I'm not buying him at 5 or 6, I'll be getting him back in my program at 5 or 6. It'll be really fun for me to just kind of sit back and enjoy being an owner. Well, that is from weanling to 4-year-old update in the barn. You could see how it gets overwhelming, or beginner to winner. Thank you guys so much for joining this episode. Make sure you're subscribed for the very next episode, because we are starting breeding season today. We're gonna film it. It feels like it hasn't even been 6 months, and it is coming right back around, where we have a lot of changes in our breeding program. We have a lot that we are gonna change, who we're gonna cross to, the process of how we're gonna flush embryos. All of that is getting an update, so make sure that you stay with us on Beginner to Winner.